I parked a few houses down. The street was dark except for a single flickering streetlight, and the only sound was the occasional rustling of leaves in the wind. My hands were steady on the wheel. My breathing was calm. But inside, something in me had already shattered. I wasn't here to catch her. I already knew. I just needed to see. Emily had been different for months. At first, I thought it was work stress. Then I thought it was me. Maybe I had become boring. Maybe I wasn't enough. But then things started to not make sense. The late-night grocery runs when the fridge was already full. The locked phone when we had always been open with each other. The way she had started wearing perfume just to go get gas. A few weeks ago, I had stopped wondering and started watching. And now I was here. Her car was in the driveway, parked neatly like she had every right to be here. The house wasn't ours, it belonged to some guy named Daniel. I had found the name on our shared bank statements when I noticed a charge for a hotel that neither of us had ever mentioned. I searched the name and just like that everything unraveled. His house. His job. His Instagram where he posted vague captions about life being good lately and finding something real. I didn't even need proof after that. My gut already knew. But I came anyway. The porch light was on. I got out of the car and walked up the driveway, my footsteps quiet on the pavement. The curtains in the front window were slightly open. Just enough for me to see her. She was sitting on the couch, barefoot, legs curled under her, wearing a t-shirt that didn't belong to me. Laughing. Relaxed. And then he walked in. Daniel. Taller than me. Broad shoulders. He was holding 2 glasses of wine, handing one to her like it was the most natural thing in the world. She took it with a smile. Clinked her glass against his. Took a sip. I felt nothing. Not rage. Not sadness. Just a hollow kind of clarity. I pulled out my phone. Opened the camera. Took the picture. 1, 2, 3. Evidence, but not for her. For me. So I wouldn't let her gaslight me later, twist this into something it wasn't. Then I turned and walked back to my car. She had already made her choice. Now I just had to make mine. I didn't go home. I didn't even know where I was driving at first, just let the road take me somewhere that wasn't there. My hands were steady on the wheel, my heart a quiet, heavy thing in my chest. No rage. No shaking hands or blinding fury like in the movies. Just a cold, sharp realization my marriage was already over. I pulled into an empty parking lot behind a gas station and just sat there, staring at the picture on my phone. Emily. Wine glass in hand. Smiling at him in a way I hadn't seen in months. I knew I should have felt something stronger. Pain maybe? Grief. But the only thing in my head was the sheer audacity of it all. She hadn't even been careful. She had let herself get comfortable with him. This wasn't some impulsive mistake. This was a full-blown second life. I exhaled slowly and tapped her contact. I didn't think about what I was going to say. I just called. It rang 3 times before she answered. Hey, babe. Her voice was soft, casual, like she hadn't just spent the night draped across another man's couch. Everything okay? I almost laughed. Where are you? I asked. A pause. Barely a second, but I caught it. Then smoothly, oh, I just got back from Ashley's. We stayed up talking forever, I lost track of time. Are you home? She sounded so normal. So effortlessly deceitful. Like lying to me was just muscle memory at this point. No, I said. Silence. I could hear the faint hum of a TV in the background. What do you mean? She asked lightly, but I could hear the hesitation now. The gears turning in her head. I didn't answer. I just texted her the picture. The one of her, the wine, the comfortable way she had settled into someone else's home. I heard her phone vibrate through the speaker. Then nothing. I waited. 5 seconds. 10. Then she sucked in a sharp breath. What the F, where did you get that? Not the question you should be asking, Emily. A different silence now. Tense. Charged. I could feel her scrambling, trying to find an angle, a way to flip this back on me. Okay, look, this isn't what it looks like. Classic. I almost rolled my eyes. It looks like my wife is in another man's house drinking wine and lying to me about it. Okay, yeah, but it's not like that. Then tell me, Emily. What's it like? She hesitated. Too long. Are you seriously spying on me? She snapped suddenly, her voice sharp. That's crazy, do you even hear yourself? Jesus, you don't trust me at all, do you? There it was. The pivot. The attempted guilt trip. I almost laughed again. This was so textbook it was insulting. Emily, I said slowly, if I didn't trust you, it's because you gave me a reason not to. She let out a shaky breath. Then softer, look, can we just talk about this at home? Are you home now? Another beat of silence. I will be soon. She was still lying. I shook my head, staring at the dashboard. Don't bother, I said, and hung up. I sat there for another 5 minutes, phone buzzing in my hand with her incoming calls. I didn't pick up. I knew exactly what she was doing right now, pacing, frantically thinking of a way to spin this. Maybe she was even calling Daniel, warning him. I put the car in drive. I wasn't going home either. Not yet. I had a better idea. I drove straight to Ashley's house. Not because I thought Emily was actually there, I knew she wasn't. But Ashley was her best friend, her closest confidant, and if there was even a chance she knew something, I was going to find out. It was past midnight by the time I pulled up in front of her place. Her porch light was off, but a dim glow leaked through the blinds of her living room window. I killed the engine and sat there for a moment, debating. Ashley had always been cool with me. We weren't close, but she was the one who had helped me pick out Emily's engagement ring, the one who hyped up our anniversary posts on Instagram. If Emily had ever told anyone about this, it would be her. I took a deep breath, got out of the car, and walked up to the door. The first knock went unanswered. The second one was met with movement inside. A shadow passed by the window, then hesitation. She wasn't expecting me. Finally, the door cracked open. Ashley stood there in a baggy hoodie and pajama shorts, hair messy like she had just woken up. But her eyes, they were wide, alert. Hey? She said, voice groggy but guarded. She wasn't at your place tonight. I cut straight to it. Ashley's fingers tightened around the doorknob. What? Emily. She said she was with you. I know she wasn't. A flicker of something crossed her face. She masked it fast, but I caught it. Dude, it's late, Ashley. I stepped forward, lowering my voice. I know. I have proof. I just need to hear it from someone else. If you know anything, now's your chance to be honest. Her jaw clenched. A war waged behind her eyes. For a second, I thought she was going to deny everything, just like Emily. But then she sighed, glanced over her shoulder like someone might be listening, and stepped outside, pulling the door shut behind her. I don't know everything, she said quietly. But yeah, she hasn't been at my place when she says she is. A hollow, unsurprised feeling settled in my gut. How long? Ashley rubbed her forehead. I don't know, a few months? Maybe longer? She never gave me details. Just asked me to cover for her sometimes. And you did? My voice was sharp now. Ashley flinched. She's my best friend, man. What was I supposed to do? Tell her to stop. She let out a bitter laugh. Yeah, you think she listens to me? You don't get it, Emily does what she wants. Always has. I stared at her. Do you know who he is? A pause. Then, Daniel. I already knew. But hearing his name come out of someone else's mouth felt different. So she told you about him? Ashley hesitated. Not directly. But I've seen her text him. Heard her talk about him once or twice. She made it sound like it was nothing, but she exhaled. I should have said something earlier. I just didn't want to get involved. Too late for that. I took a step back. Thanks for being honest. Finally, Ashley bit her lip. What are you gonna do? I didn't answer. Just turned and walked back to my car. Because I already knew exactly what I was going to do next. I didn't go home. I had no reason to. Instead, I drove. Nowhere in particular at first, just aimless streets, my hands steady on the wheel, my mind sharper than it had ever been. It was strange, this kind of clarity. Like something had cracked open inside me and now everything was pouring out, truths I had ignored, signs I had explained away, all of it fitting together into a picture that had been right in front of me for months. Maybe even years. Ashley had given me exactly what I needed. She didn't realize it yet, but she had. Emily hadn't just been cheating. She had been building a second life, one where I was just a placeholder, a convenience she kept around while she tasted something new. Daniel wasn't a fling. He was something more. And that changed everything. My phone buzzed for the 10th time. Emily. I let it ring. Then another text popped up. Emily, where are you? Please, just talk to me. I stared at the screen. Then slowly, I typed back, I'm with Daniel. We're having a chat. I hit send and tossed my phone onto the passenger seat. The lie didn't matter. The reaction did. Less than a minute later, my phone rang again. This time I answered. What the hell are you doing? Her voice was sharp, panicked. What do you think? I kept my voice calm, controlled. Where are you? Seriously, just tell me where you are. Right now. I smiled to myself. There it was. The fear. Relax, Emily, I said smoothly. We're just talking. About you, about us, about what happens next. Her breathing was uneven. Listen, I was gonna tell you. It's not what you think. No? Then what is it? A pause. A second too long. It just happened. I laughed. A sharp, humorless sound. Right? Just happened. Like a car accident. Or a thunderstorm. Not something you did deliberately over and over again for months. I didn't mean for it to, don't. My voice was flat. Just don't. I don't care why you did it. I don't care about your excuses. I just want to know one thing. Silence. Were you ever going to tell me? Or was I just supposed to keep being your backup plan until you got bored? Emily swallowed audibly. It's not like that. Then what's it like? Emily? More silence. You don't understand, she said finally. Things between us haven't been the same. I needed what? I cut her off. Needed someone else's bed? Someone else's attention? And instead of just leaving, you chose to lie to me every single day. I still love you, she whispered. I laughed again. No, you don't. She sucked in a breath like I had slapped her. If you did, I continued, voice quiet but steady, you wouldn't have done this. Love isn't lying to my face while sleeping in someone else's arms. Love isn't making me feel crazy for suspecting the truth. Love isn't this. She didn't say anything. You want to know what the worst part is? I asked. It's not even the cheating. It's that you didn't respect me enough to hide it properly. You thought I was too stupid to notice. No, you did. I exhaled. But now, I see everything. And I promise you, Emily, you're going to regret all of it. I hung up, and for the first time all night, I smiled that I didn't go home. Emily was probably there now, pacing, waiting for me to show up so she could spin her next lie. Maybe she had even packed a bag, preparing for some dramatic exit where she'd cry and say she needed space while secretly planning to run straight to Daniel. No, that wasn't going to happen. Because I wasn't just going to leave. I wasn't going to make this easy for her. Emily had spent months, maybe longer, playing me for a fool. Treating me like an afterthought, a backup plan, a safety net. Now it was my turn to make her feel small. I parked a block away from Daniel's house. His lights were still on. I had no idea if he was home, but that didn't matter. I wasn't here to fight him. I was here for something much worse. I stepped out of my car, phone in hand, and walked up to his front door. No hesitation. No second thoughts. I knocked. A few moments later, the door swung open. Daniel. Up close, he wasn't as impressive as I had imagined. He was taller than me, sure, but not by much. His hair was slightly messy, like he had just rolled out of bed, and he was wearing a plain hoodie and sweatpants. He looked at me confused. Can I help you? I smiled. Yeah, I think we need to talk. About Emily. His expression flickered. There it is. The moment of recognition. Of realization. He knew exactly who I was. I don't save it. I held up my phone, thumb hovering over the screen. I don't care about you, man. I don't blame you either. I just want to know one thing. He hesitated. What? Did she tell you we were separated? His face twitched. He looked away. That was all the answer I needed. Right, I said, nodding to myself. Look, man, I didn't I cut him off. You didn't know, right? You thought things were over between us. That's what she told you, huh? He didn't answer. Tell me something, Daniel, I continued, my voice casual. How long has it been? How long have you and my wife been screwing around behind my back? Daniel swallowed. 2 months? I tilted my head. 3? Or has it been longer? He exhaled sharply. Look, I don't want any trouble. Oh, don't worry, I said, voice deadly calm. You're not the one in trouble. She is. Daniel's shoulders relaxed slightly, but he was still on edge. Good. I held up my phone again. See, Emily just called me. She's freaking out because she thinks you and I are talking. Which means she never actually told you the truth. And that's just sad, isn't it? His jaw clenched. What do you want from me? Nothing. Just thought you should know what kind of person you're dealing with. He stayed silent. I mean, really, I went on, do you think you're special? You think she won't do the exact same thing to you when she gets bored? His face darkened. You were never different, Daniel. You were just next. The truth settled between us like a weight. I could see it in his eyes, the flicker of doubt, the realization creeping in. He had thought he was the exception. That Emily had chosen him, loved him. But now? He wasn't so sure. I turned to leave. Hey, Daniel called after me. I glanced back. What are you gonna do? I smiled. A slow, knowing smile. Watch. Then I walked away, leaving Daniel standing in the doorway, his world beginning to crumble just like mine had. I drove home. Not because I wanted to see Emily, but because I wanted her to see me. She had spent months lying, twisting reality to fit her narrative. Making me question myself, gaslighting me into thinking I was paranoid when I had every right to be suspicious. Yeah? It was her turn to feel that weight. To feel the slow, creeping dread of losing control. When I pulled into the driveway, the living room light was on. She was waiting. I took my time getting out of the car. No rush. No anger. Just cold, calculated movements. If she wanted to put on a performance, I was going to enjoy watching her squirm. As soon as I stepped inside, Emily was on her feet. Where were you? Her voice was tight, breathless, like she had been holding it in since our last call. I shut the door behind me and locked it. Slowly. Deliberately. Out, I said simply. Her eyes flicked over me, searching for clues. For something, anything to tell her what I had done. Out where? She pressed, crossing her arms. Defensive already. You tell me, I countered, tilting my head. You're the one who always knows where I am, right? Her lips parted, but no words came out. She was still trying to gauge my mood, still trying to figure out how much I knew. I stepped forward. You seem nervous, Em. Something wrong? She exhaled sharply, shaking her head. Look, I know you're mad, but we need to talk about this. You left, and then you sent me that text about Daniel, and what about Daniel? I cut in, watching her closely. Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. You're worried I told him something, aren't you? A flicker of panic flashed in her eyes. She covered it quickly, but not quickly enough. I smiled. What do you think we talked about, Emily? She let out a nervous laugh. Okay, stop. You didn't actually go see him. Didn't I? Her breath hitched. She was unraveling. Good. What did you tell him? She demanded, voice rising. Shouldn't you be asking him that? I countered. Silence. I could see the war in her mind now, the battle between denial and pure, unfiltered panic. Because she knew that if Daniel started asking questions, her carefully crafted lies would fall apart. You shouldn't have done that, she muttered. Oh? I raised a brow. You get to lie, cheat, and treat me like an idiot, but I shouldn't have talked to the guy you were screwing behind my back? She flinched. Then her face twisted into something colder. You're being dramatic. I laughed. A real, genuine laugh. Dramatic? Emily, I caught you cheating tonight. This isn't drama. This is reality. Her jaw clenched. You don't understand. Things between us, stop. I held up a hand. Just stop. I don't care why. I don't care about your excuses. I care about the fact that you did this. Repeatedly. And you lied. To me. To him. To everyone. She exhaled sharply. So what now? You're just gonna throw everything away? I stared at her. I'm not throwing anything away, Emily. You did that. She scoffed. Oh, come on. We've been together for years. You're really gonna let this ruin everything? I blinked. She was actually serious. You ruined everything, I said quietly. Not me. You. She threw up her hands. Fine. Then what do you want? Revenge? You want me to beg? Cry? Is that what you're waiting for? I took a step closer. No, Emily, I murmured. I'm waiting for you to realize that you lost me. And for the first time all night, I saw it hit her. The truth. The reality. The weight of it all finally sinking in. She had spent months, years, thinking I would never leave. That I would always be there. Always waiting, always forgiving. Not this time. Not ever again. Emily was finally silent. No more excuses. No more fake tears, no more trying to twist things in her favor. She just stood there, staring at me like she didn't recognize the person in front of her. Good. Because the man who walked into this house tonight wasn't the same one who had left hours ago. I walked past her, toward our bedroom. She spun around. Where are you going? Packing. That single word sent a shockwave through her. Her entire body stiffened. Wait, what? You're actually leaving? I didn't answer. I just opened the closet and pulled out a duffel bag. She rushed into the room after me. Okay, stop. Just let's think about this. You're acting crazy right now. I laughed under my breath. You cheated on me for months. But I'm the one acting crazy? She folded her arms. People make mistakes. I zipped the bag halfway and looked at her. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. Leaving the stove on. Calling someone by the wrong name. You didn't make a mistake, Emily. You made a choice. Repeatedly. She rolled her eyes, like I was the one being unreasonable. God, do you always have to be so damn righteous? I turned back to packing. She stepped forward, grabbing my wrist. Wait, I didn't pull away. I just stared at her hand, then slowly lifted my eyes to hers. Let go. My voice was even, controlled. She hesitated. Then, almost desperate, she whispered, we can fix this. Something in me snapped. I laughed. A deep, sharp, bitter laugh. Fix this? I echoed, shaking my head. You think this is something we can patch up with a few therapy sessions and a heart-to-heart? She swallowed hard. I don't know. But we've been together for so long, we can. And we will. Her grip loosened. What about everything we built? She said, voice cracking. I tilted my head. What did we build, Emily? A marriage? A home? You burned all of that down the second you let someone else into our life. She stepped back like I had struck her. And maybe I had, just not with my hands. I didn't mean for it to get this far, she whispered. But it did, I said simply. And now we live with that. She wiped at her eyes. So that's it? You're done? I stared at her for a long moment. Then softly I said, I was done the second I saw you with him. She sucked in a breath. I grabbed my bag, threw it over my shoulder, and walked past her. And I didn't look back. I walked out of that house and didn't look back. Not at Emily. Not at the life we had built, the memories we had shared, or the home that had once been ours. That place was nothing more than 4 walls and a roof now. A crime scene. A graveyard for everything I had once believed in. But the second I stepped outside, the cold night air hitting my skin, reality set in. I was actually leaving. No more pretending. No more waiting for things to get better. No more hoping she'd wake up one day and realize what she was doing. No more us. I got into my car, my hands gripping the wheel tighter than I meant to. The house loomed behind me in the rearview mirror. Emily was probably still standing inside, watching, waiting to see if I would change my mind. She didn't think I would actually do it. She thought I'd cool down, come back in a few hours, maybe sleep on the couch, and then in the morning, we'd have some long, dramatic conversation where she'd cry, tell me it was a mistake, and I'd give her another chance. Not this time. I backed out of the driveway and drove. Not fast. Not recklessly. Just steady, controlled, focused. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew where I wasn't going. That house. That life. That lie. Emily had always been good at twisting the truth. She had spent so long weaving her version of reality that I had started to doubt my own. I had questioned myself, convinced myself I was being paranoid, too suspicious, too insecure. But now I knew exactly who she was. And I knew exactly who I wasn't anymore. I wasn't her safety net. I wasn't her backup plan. I wasn't hers anymore. I kept driving. The city lights blurred past me, neon reflections streaking against the windshield. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat, but I didn't need to look to know who it was. Emily. I let it ring. A text came in. Then another. Then another. Come back. Please. We need to talk. You can't just walk away like this. I exhaled sharply. Watch me. I pulled into an empty parking lot, cutting the engine. My heart was racing, but not from anger. Not from heartbreak. From relief. Because for the first time in months, maybe even years, I was free. Emily had spent so long controlling the narrative, making sure I played the role she wanted me to play. But now she didn't have that power anymore. And I could only imagine the panic setting in. I picked up my phone, scrolling through her messages. Then, slowly, I typed back, "Me, you don't get to tell me what I can and can't do anymore. Read at 2:17 a.m. No reply. I smiled to myself, leaned back in my seat, and closed my eyes. For the first time in a long time, I slept peacefully. I woke up to dozens of missed calls. Emily had been busy. I stared at my phone, the screen flooded with her name, voicemail notifications stacked on top of unread texts. My chest felt lighter than it should have. I had expected to wake up feeling wrecked, hollow, maybe even tempted to go back. But instead, I felt nothing. I sat there in the car for a long moment, watching as another call came in. I let it ring. Then finally, I pressed play on the first voicemail. Emily's voice crackled through the speaker. "Can you just pick up the phone? Please? We need to talk about this. I don't want you to just walk away like this." Delete. Next message. "Okay, I get that you're mad. I messed up. But you can't just ignore me. You can't just leave like that. You didn't even let me explain." I let out a short laugh. Explain? Explain what? That she had been screwing another man behind my back while making me feel like the paranoid, insecure one? That she had built an entire second life while I was busy being a good husband? Delete. Next message. This time, her voice was colder, more clipped. The mask was slipping. "You're being a child. Seriously. Running away. Giving me the silent treatment? What, you think this makes you the bigger person?" There it was. The switch. The moment she realized that the teary, regretful act wasn't working. So she had to go for control. Emily was panicking, and I was enjoying every second of it. Delete. Next message. This one was longer. A shaky inhale before she spoke. "I don't know what you told Daniel, but he won't answer me. If you went there and said some..." She cut herself off with a frustrated noise. "This isn't fair. Okay? You don't get to just ruin my life because you're hurt." I nearly choked on laughter. Ruin her life? I had barely even started. Daniel must have been thinking now. questioning her. Maybe even realizing that he had been nothing more than a temporary distraction for her. That whatever she had told him about our marriage was a lie. And if Emily had lost him too? Good. I let her last voicemail sit there for a moment. Then finally I hit delete. I wasn't hurt anymore. I wasn't angry. I was done. And Emily? She was finally realizing it. Emily showed up at my apartment 2 days later. I wasn't surprised. I had ignored every single one of her calls, deleted every message without reading it. I hadn't blocked her yet, not because I wanted to talk to her, but because I wanted her to feel it. The silence, the lack of control, the helplessness of watching something slip through your fingers and knowing there's nothing you can do to stop it. That's what she had done to me for months. Now it was her turn. But of course, Emily wasn't the type to just accept things. So she came to my door. I had barely stepped out of the shower when I heard the knocking. Not tentative, not nervous, demanding. I didn't rush. Took my time pulling on a shirt, drying my hair. The knocking turned into pounding. I know you're in there. Her voice was muffled through the door, but I could hear the desperation under the anger. I let out a slow breath. Then, finally, I unlocked the door and pulled it open. Emily stood there, hair a mess, eyes rimmed with red. She had clearly not been sleeping. Good. We need to talk. I leaned against the doorframe. No, we don't. She huffed, crossing her arms. Are you seriously just going to act like none of this matters? Like we didn't spend years together? I tilted my head. You mean the years where I was faithful to you while you were screwing someone else behind my back? She flinched, but quickly covered it with a scowl. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. She let out a sharp breath. I need you to hear me out. Please. I studied her. The slight tremble in her hands, the way her gaze kept darting to my face like she was searching for something, anything that told her she still had a hold on me. But she didn't. All right, I said. Go ahead. Explain. She blinked. She hadn't expected me to give her the chance. She licked her lips, squared her shoulders. I never meant to hurt you. I smirked. Yeah? That's your opening statement? I'm serious. Her voice wavered. I was God, I don't know. I was unhappy. And I didn't know how to fix it, and Daniel was just there. It wasn't about you, it was about stop. My voice was quiet, but she shut up immediately. I stepped closer, watching her eyes widen slightly. You don't get to stand here and act like this was some accident, I said. Like you just tripped and fell into another man's arms. You had every opportunity to talk to me. To tell me you were unhappy. To be honest. Her lip quivered. I know. But you didn't. I shook my head. You chose to lie. You chose to cheat. Over and over again. And now that you're finally facing the consequences, you suddenly care about how I feel. Her eyes glistened. I never wanted to lose you. I let out a short, humorless laugh. You lost me the moment you thought I was too stupid to catch you. A tear slipped down her cheek. She quickly wiped it away. I don't know what to do without you. I looked at her for a long moment. Once, those words would have broken me. Would have made me hesitate, reconsider, stay. But now they meant nothing. I exhaled slowly. You'll figure it out. And then I closed the door in her face. I stood there, listening. She didn't knock again. Didn't beg. After a few seconds, I heard her footsteps retreat down the hall. And just like that, I was free.